Good afternoon. My name is Sophie, and today I will be presenting to you Somalia, a haven for warlords and terrorists. This is a pressing issue that requires international help. Although there are many social issues faced by Somalians, such as poverty, hunger, climate change, and so forth, today I'm going to be bringing to your attention war and conflict in Somalia. A brief history is needed to understand how Somalia became a haven for crime. During the 19th century, Somalian lands were colonized by the British, the Italian, and the French. The lands were divided by mock borders separating the colonialist powers. The borders were drawn by the colonizers but failed to consider clans and communities, resulting in a divide of communities, ethnicities, and clan groups. Somalia gained its independence on July 1, 1960. Shortly after Somalian independence, the president was assassinated in a military coup organized by Mohammed Said Barre, who then took presidencies. Barre's regime abolished the current constitution along with all opposing political parties and Somalian clan systems. During the late 1980s, clan groups began to rebel against the political system. The militarization and fear evoked from Barre's government created an extreme violence between Somalian clan system and caused Barre to flee the country in 1991. Today, the current president of Somalia is Mohamed Abdul, better known as Fermango. Somalians were excited about his presidency in 2017, but are now worried about his need for power as he just re-elected himself last February. The mass violence in Somalia is over political and economic control. The conquest of power and lack of governments has created three main types of violence: exercise military violence by warlords, extremist groups radicalizing civilians, and lateral clan violence. Rebel groups are groups of people that are against the current regime. They began to gain recognition before and during Somalia's civil war in 1991. Their objective is to forcefully change the current government system. There are also terrorist groups in Somalia. For instance, Al-Shabaab is an extremist group currently radicalizing civilians. Al-Shabaab is using extreme violence against the Somalian people to forcefully get them to join their terrorist group. The notion that people are either with Al-Shabaab or they will be killed has resulted in successful following. The third type of violence is lateral clan violence. Clans provide a sense of kinship to Somalian society. Traditionally, clan groups were groups of people and communities and families that were there to strive. But throughout history, clans have been created a hierarchical system that has led to abuse of power distribution. For instance, President Barre was part of the Darude clan and would only elect his clan members to participate in government, discriminating against all other clan systems. Imagine if it was you. The constant fear of death, the ongoing violence, resulting in famine, drought, lack of infrastructure, political instability, economic instability, refugee crisis. Somalia needs international help. Somalia needs international help. These are all articles that I have posted from in the last 2 decades. The article in the bottom right corner about the car bombing occurred on January 16, 2022. Violence has become the norm for Somalians. This is no way of living. There needs to be change, and I believe that the solution to this issue is through commerce. You may think, but commerce? Like many, the connection that we have social problems due to corporations may come to mind. Michael Porter, a professor at Harvard Business School, believes that corporations are the solution to solving social issues for 2 main reasons, which are scale and profit. Nonprofit organizations, government institutions, and social organizations have yet to do anything to impactfully help Somalians because they can't reach a scale big enough to help all of Somalia, and secondly, businesses have the resources to meet the needs of consumers and make a profit. Profit is the only thing that can be scaled and be self-sustainable. Meeting violence with violence is no longer the solution. It has yet to work for Somalia. This is demonstrated through history by the dismantling of the Canadian Airborne Unit, Black Hawks Down, the EU anti-piracy mission, and so forth. You are probably all aware of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but if not, in order to move up Maslow's pyramid of needs, certain needs need to be met. At the base of the pyramid, there are psychological needs, including air, water, food, shelter. At the top of the pyramid, there are actualization, which includes the desire to become the best version of ourselves and to fulfill life's fullest potential. Now, the majority of Somalians have yet to meet their basic psychological needs, so how can we ever expect them to work with governments and organizations if their basic needs can't even be met? This is when commerce needs to come into place. Let us begin with the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 2. Zero hunger. Somalia traditionally relied on seas to provide food for themselves and their families. As seen in the picture behind, corporations and industrial fishing have taken the fish and have destroyed the sea life and polluted the water, causing Somalians to resort to violence or piracy in order to feed themselves and their families. There should be stronger environmental laws to protect the seas and the livelihood of Somalian people. Or governments can create a market operated by Somalian people to fish and contribute to global food markets. These people will be paid livable wages for the fish they catch. This would reduce criminal activity significantly as people are no longer fighting to survive every day. The other goal and solution I have looked into in the United Nations Sustainable Goal is number 13, climate action. Environmental sustainability is essential for the Somalian people to survive. Climate change is affecting everyone, but the smallest amount of climate change is affecting Somalians. These people have experienced extreme famine. They're unable to grow their own food because of the lack of land, violence, and insecurity within their country. There needs to be a major environmental change in order to sustain the Somalian people. Corporations need to be held accountable and implement strong corporate social responsibility practices to end the polluting of the environment. The land I once lived on is no longer livable, and it is an international responsibility to take care of the land and restore hope in the Somalian people. We are more similar than we are different. Somalia needs international help. I thank you for listening to my presentation.